Hello guys, welcome to the important topic in CSS tutorial, that is CSS box model. You can use CSS to segment your content into well-defined boxes using margin and padding along with this HTML development. By this, you can make your web page look more organized and neat. So, using development along with this margin and padding together is called as CSS box model. In the introduction video, I said that we were going to learn about this HTML development, and in this video, we will learn about this development. The development defines a division or a section in an HTML document. We usually use the development as a container for other elements so that we can style them with CSS and also we can perform some other tasks with them. If we copy this code and let's save it in a new file and try to run, what are all the changes we may observe? Let's see. For this, I'm going to create one new file with the name index2.html. Inside this, I'm going to paste this code, save, and I'm going to run this. At this moment, you can't see any changes. See, this is just normal H1 heading and this is paragraph. But if we apply some inline styling, let's see what are all the changes we may see. I'm going to apply inline styling. I'm going to give the border. I'm going to give the color magenta. Copy this same code, same styling for p element as well. Paragraph element, save, and now see now you can see this slight border around these two different elements. Now at this moment, this h1 heading and this paragraph are two different elements, but if we want to consider these two elements as one single unit, and if we want this border around these two elements, for that, if we just copy this code and apply to this development, remove for this paragraph, and let's see now the border is around these two elements. Now the div tag just wraps around this h1 heading and paragraph and make these two elements into single entity or just single unit. So it is just appearing border around these two entities into single unit. It is just making two elements into single unit. You can also give some other stylings like margin left. I'm going to give it 20px and let's run it in browser. See, now you can see the margin left 20px. What we were previously doing is we were applying styles individually for this h1 heading and this paragraph element. By using this development, you can apply these for these both elements at the same time. This is the use case of using this development. This is one of the example what you can make using developments. The development is the major part of the CSS model. All HTML elements are basically boxes. The CSS box model is essentially a box that wraps around every HTML elements of a section. It consists of margins, borders, padding, and the actual content. The image here represents the box model. You can see here the content is where the text and images are kept. The image here illustrates the box model. The content consists of images and text. The padding is the area around the content but within the border. The margin is the area outside the border. It is the space between the container border and any other neighboring containers. The box model in this way allows us to divide the browser screen area into sections and define the spacing between the elements. This helps make your web page more organized. The box model also let us set the height and width of an element. The one thing you should know about this box model is that when you set the height and width of a container, you are just setting the height and width of the content. not the entire box. This means when you say height 100 px or width 200 px, the padding, border and margin are not added to this height and width. But we want the whole div or box to be considered as one unit along with the border. So that the solution for this is to use the CSS property called box sizing. So for that box sizing, this is the property box sizing and the value is border box. If we set the box sizing to border box, then the height and width will be defined for the entire box. If we want this style to be applied for this all the elements, for that you want to copy this. You want to give the asterisk symbol and inside this curly braces you want to give the border sizing. The asterisk symbol is used to define styles for all the elements that is present in a page. In HTML, there are block elements and inline elements. The inline elements use the full width of the container and forces line breaks. For example, these are all the example of the block elements. These elements take up the whole width of the whole container. See these elements not letting the another element to occupy the available space here. It just pushes to the next line. Some example of block elements includes headings and paragraphs. Block elements use the full width of the container and therefore line breaks. Div elements are also by default block elements. The inline elements, on the other hand, just use as much width needed and they displayed on the same line as other element in the container. For example, these are all the inline elements and they share if there is any width available next to the one element, then it will allow the element to share the width of this container. They don't force the other element to push us to the next line. Some of inline elements includes images, links, M elements, underline, strong element, etc. And there is another type of element called inline block elements. These elements are more or less the same as inline elements. The only difference is that they allow us to set the height and width of the element. So the div elements either be block elements or inline block elements or even inline block elements. We define all these types of blocks by using the property called display property. If the display property is set to block, then the each and every element is going to appear in the next line. Even if the enough space is available next to the first element, it won't just occupy the space, it will just appear in next line. Inline elements on other hand, let the next element to share the space in the same width. And in inline block elements, the elements can share the width of this space available, but you have to specify the width and height of this each and every element. These are the basic difference between these three types of display properties: display block, display inline, and display inline block. In next video, we are going to create a simple box model layout.